أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ramadan with the Holy Quran 30 Lessons in 30 Days podcast. In this podcast, we shall talk about 30 lessons, a comprehensive guide throughout the holy month of Ramadan to give you a gist of the great religion of Islam and its teachings produced from the words of the Holy Quran and exegesis, as well as points from traditions and narrations from the divine purified household. This is your host Suhail Saleh. This is the 10th episode of Ramadan with the Holy Quran 30 Lessons in 30 Days podcast, and this is episode number 10, lesson 10, the two forgotten obligations. First is Islamic text, Surah Tawbah, verse 60. The free will offering Zakat are for the poor and needy, those who work to collect them, those whose hearts are brought together, the ransoning of slaves, debtors in good God's way, and the traveler. So God ordains, God is all-knowing, all-wise. The commandment for Islamic text Zakat came down in Medina. However, due to very few Muslims and limited wealth for the giving of Islamic texts, people would pay themselves. After the forming of Islamic government in Medina, Islamic text was collected from people and placed in the Islamic treasury by Mal, and the wealth was concentrated under the control of an Islamic governor. Surah Tawbah verse 103, take of their wealth, a free will offering. Islamic text Zakat is not specific to Islam, rather was also present in religions prior to it. Prophet Jesus said in his cradle, Surah Maryam verse 31, and he enjoined me to pray and to give alms. And Prophet Moses stated Bani Israel, Surah Al-Baqarah verse 43, and perform the prayers and pay the alms. And with regards to prophethood in general, we read Surah Anbiya verse 73, and appointed them to be leaders guiding by our command, and we revealed to them the doing of good deeds and to perform the prayers and to pay the alms. In the Quran, four expressions have been used for Islamic texts. 1. Giving of one's wealth. Surah Al-Baqarah verse 177. To give one's substance, however cherished, to kinsmen. Number 2. Free will offering. Surah Tawbah verse 103, as we have seen before. 3. Expand. Surah Ibrahim verse 31. They perform the prayer and expand. Number 4. Islamic texts. Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 55. Perform the prayer and pay the alms. The importance of Islamic texts Zakat. Generally in the Holy Quran, Islamic text comes alongside prayers, and there is no other obligatory deed that has been so strongly associated with prayer, and according to narrations, the conditions in which prayers are accepted are the payments of Islamic text. This relationship delivers the link between connection with Allah and the connection with the people. It is forbidden for Saadat to receive Islamic text. When a group of people from Bani Hashim requested from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that they be in charge of collecting the Islamic text of cattle, and from that be able to pay portion of the Islamic text Zakat for their collection work, the Prophet peace be upon him stated that Islamic text is forbidden upon you and I, unless it be that both the recipient and the giver are both Saadat. The law of Islamic text Zakat is not for Islam to be inclined towards having a group of poor people be recipient while the rich be the donors, but rather is a solution to an outside problem in the society. The rich are afflicted with such phenomena as theft, fire, collision, war, and captivity, and in the Islamic system there must be a budgetary measure for social security. In the narration it says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a certain amount of wealth in the hand of rich for the purpose of solving the problems of the poor, and if it is known that this was insufficient, the wealth would be increased for them. If the rights of the poor are all paid to them, the lives of all will be good, and if the rich paid the Islamic tax of the poor, there would be no existence of poverty. Contrary to the beliefs of some with regards to limiting the growth of individual income and limiting its growth, Islam believes that we must give a proportion of our freedom so that mankind struggles to work hard, initiate and reap rewards, the rewards of nature to grow, but also to pay taxes. The condition of paying Islamic tax in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just for the poor, but for any cause that will assist the sovereign line of Islam. For the sake of saving society from evil of the wicked, we can use Islamic tax to our benefit, and the spending would be considered part of softening of the hearts. Spending. If someone has upon their necks a blood money debt to pay which they cannot pay, this can be considered debt in Islamic text. Zakat money can be used to assist them. Perhaps the term upon the necks can also be considered part of Islamic text Zakat, spending towards freeing prisoners and securing the expenditure. This spending of Islamic tax, Zakat, need not be equally distributed among its allowable expenditure, but rather can be at discretion of the Islamic jurist and be distributed according to needs and necessities. Islamic tax Zakat is a means of adjusting the distribution of wealth. Islamic tax is an act of thankfulness to the divine blessings. Islamic tax diminishes socio-economic classes and removes hatred between the rich and the poor. Islamic tax develops the soul of generosity and mercy in mankind and reduces material desires and dependence. Islamic tax is the bankroll to the security of the deprived in the society. To the poor, it says, don't worry. To the bankrupt, it says to renew your efforts. To the traveler, it says, don't be afraid of becoming stranded. To the worker, it says, your shirt is protected. And to the slaves, it gives the promise of freedom. It booms the market for the divine mercy, and the hearts of others are attracted to Islam. Neglecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, human exploitation, hard-hearted tyranny and debauchery is the fruit of rivalry in the worldly metals and wealth. While Islamic tax is a medicine for this disease, Islamic tax Zakat, as well as reducing deprivation, it orientates others towards Islam, or at least it prevents leaning towards working with the enemies of Islam. Just as noted in the narrations, sometimes with those weak faith can have their faith made firm through a little financial help and by being closer to Islam. Islamic tax Zakat, being part of schematics of the Islamic system, is the foundation of societal justice, elimination of poverty, security for workers, international popular relations, freedom of slaves, and the imprisoned movement of potential energy, and protecting the religion and royalty and the spread of its services in general. Of the two forgotten obligations, the first one we mentioned is Zakat, the second one is Khums. According to narrations and the Shia belief, Ayah 41 of Surah Al-Anfal covers all forms of income broader than business, work, and trade, and one source of Khums has been mentioned in the Ayah, while others have the narrations. Surah Al-Anfal, verse 41. Know that whatever booty you take, the fifth of it is God's. Khums in the narrations is of such importance that it is said that anyone who does not pay Khums of their wealth is not lawful to them, and they are not allowed to utilize their wealth, and the cloth worn in prayers which has not been paid Khums is problematic. The jurists have identified 7 items in which Khums needs to be paid on. 1. Profit and benefits of business and annual income. 2. Treasure. 3. Minerals. 4. Gemstones obtained through sea diving. 5. Unlawful mixed wealth with lawful wealth. 6. Land purchased by a non-wearing disbeliever buys from a Muslim. 7. War spoils. It is clearly obvious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of Khums, but rather Allah's portion is to be used for governance of Allah's laws and the Prophet, propagation, deliverance of the call of Islam to the ears of the world, saving those who are oppressed and weak, and preventing corruption. Based on the narrations, God's portion is under the authority of the Prophet along with the Prophet's share, and after him under the authority of the Imam, and these during the time of occultation under the authority of specified representatives of the general representative of the Imam, meaning the jurist with all the conditions fulfilled, and the jurisprudential judge that we also know as Marjai Taqlid. Of other spending that Khums can be utilized as per the narrations, the impoverished and those stranded in travel that are of Bani Hashim here. Of other spending that Khums can be utilized for, as per the narrations, the impoverished, those stranded in travel that are of Bani Hashim here, it is forbidden for impoverished Sadat to receive Islamic tax. They are able to utilize the Khums stream of funds to secure the needs. In fact, Islam has made obligatory 2 things which would eradicate poverty in society. The first is Islamic tax, which is in relation to all societies poor, and the other is Khums, part of which has been dedicated to the needy Sadat, and both Khums and Zakat payable is to be as much as 1 year worth of their needs, no more. And this is the end of the 10th episode of Ramadan with the Holy Quran, 30 lessons in 30 days. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakat.